For a moment, neither of them spoke. Sterling saw her clearly then, really saw her. Dark hair pulled back in a simple braid, no makeup, tired eyes that held something he couldn't quite name, and on her left hand, fourth finger, a ring. Copper wire, twisted and imperfect, with a piece of sea glass in the middle. Sterling's heart stopped. His mouth went dry. He stared at the ring, then at her face, and the world tilted. Lila's expression didn't change. She wiped her hands on a towel, her movements calm and deliberate. "I made extra," she said quietly, "in case you were hungry." Sterling couldn't speak. His mind was racing, calculating, rejecting, accepting. It wasn't possible. It couldn't be, but the ring was impossible to mistake. Lila turned back to the counter, plating the food with steady hands. "You should eat before it gets cold," she said, and her voice was different now, softer, tinged with something that might have been sadness or hope, or both. Sterling forced himself to move, to walk to the counter, to sit on one of the stools he'd never used. Lila placed the plate in front of him. Chicken, roasted vegetables, bread that steamed when he tore it open. It looked like home, though Sterling had never had a home to compare it to. He picked up his fork, but he couldn't take his eyes off the ring. "Where did you get that?" he asked, and his voice was rough, unsteady. Lila glanced at her hand at the ring, and something flickered across her face. "Someone made it for me," she said. "A long time ago." Sterling's hands were shaking. He set the fork down and stood abruptly, the stool scraping against the tile. Willa. The name came out like a prayer, like a curse, like a question he'd been asking for 23 years. Lila, Willa, whoever she was, met his eyes, and for the first time since she'd walked into his house, she smiled. Not a polite smile, not the neutral expression she wore like armor. A real smile, small and sad and achingly familiar. "Hi, Sterling," she said. And just like that, the billionaire disappeared. Only the orphan remained. Sterling didn't know he was crying until he felt the tears on his face. He couldn't remember the last time he'd cried, couldn't remember if he ever had, but standing in his massive, empty kitchen, face to face with the girl who'd believed in him when he was nothing, Sterling broke. "Why didn't you find me?" The words came out harsh, accusatory, but Willa didn't flinch. She leaned against the counter, her arms crossed, the ring catching the light. "I tried," she said simply. "When I was 18, I went back to Mercy House. They said you'd left for college, but they wouldn't give me any information. I looked for you online, but Sterling Vance is a common enough name, and I didn't know you'd changed it legally. I saw articles about you years later, saw your picture. I wasn't sure at first, you looked so different. But then I saw an interview where you talked about growing up in foster care, and I knew." Sterling's chest felt tight. "So you just